Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about digital marketing. This video is the first one in the digital marketing series where I'm going to introduce the topic and a lot of the subtopics within this topic as well. So let's get it out of the way first, once and for all. What even is digital marketing? When I say digital marketing, what am I talking about exactly? Well, digital marketing has to do with basically using online channels in order to sell or in order to promote some sort of a product, right? So just like we might see a poster advertising babysitting, right? And that would be a physical marketing because that's a poster that actually might have been created digitally potentially, but is on your mailbox or something like that. Just like we see physical marketing, you may also see digital marketing materials that are promoting a certain product or a certain service on social media, on a company's website. Maybe you get emails from companies telling you about their latest offer. All of those are examples of digital marketing. So digital marketing is essentially just all things related to using online channels in order to promote products and services. And the reality is that some level of marketing, and in this day and age, some level of digital marketing is necessary for any business to really succeed and get traction a lot of the time, because we live in a digital age at this point at the end of the day. Because you could have the most amazing product, the most amazing service, and maybe your current clients are all really happy. Maybe they all say that you do such a great job of cleaning their office space and they're so happy with that, or maybe you do a great job tutoring their kids and they're so happy with that, but without any marketing, without people knowing who you are and what you do and understanding why they should value that, right? Understanding why whatever it is that you're offering is actually worth their time, is actually worth their attention, is actually worth their money, then you're not going to sell anything, right? Even if you have the best product out there, right? Even if you have maybe not necessarily the best product out there, because maybe that's a reach, but maybe you do have a great product that does outcompete other options in the market, but just no one knows about it. A couple other things I just want to get out of the way. Digital marketing is not get rich quick, okay? I'm not going to sit here and promise you that, oh, if you just watch this series, you're going to make $50,000 every month from now on forever. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know what you're selling. I don't know what what value you're going to provide. I don't know if you're going to actually implement the marketing tips here, right? Who knows? And so I am not going to be making any promises like that. Let me be very, very clear. That being said, I do think it's very possible to earn income online, especially with this digital age. There's several ways to earn income online. Whether you're a content creator for YouTube and you earn money from AdSense or sponsorships, right? That's a very legitimate way of making some decent money there. Maybe you sell digital products on Etsy or Teachers Pay Teachers. Or maybe you sell and give out physical products on Etsy, right? Maybe you run a service-based business, right? Maybe you clean people's houses, maybe you tutor, maybe you mow people's lawns, maybe you shovel people's snow. Those are especially great opportunities if you are a young, physically fit person who lives in an area with mostly retirees, right? That could be a great idea. So I certainly do think that there are absolutely opportunities to either earn income from online or at least use digital marketing in order to promote a business that sells maybe physical products or a business that does a certain service. That is all very possible, but I'm not saying you're just going to make $1 million a year right off the bat or as soon as you start. Like, that's just not realistic. And I think this is where a lot of people give up, is they try really hard for a few days, things don't work out exactly as they want, and then they give up, rather than realizing that, you know what, all good things do take time, and all good things take good strategy, right? If you can understand what it is that your customer really wants and how to show your customer through digital marketing that you are able to provide them what it is that they are looking for, that you are able to solve a problem for them, that's the first step. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get into the core components of digital marketing. So starting with the first one, which is search engine optimization, or SEO. So essentially what this is using titles or keywords that people are actually looking for, things that people are actually going to search for, and not just people, but people who are actually going to potentially buy from you. So this essentially involves things like using good targeted keywords, all of that kind of stuff, so that when people search for things, they will actually find you and actually be able to see what you do. And this is really great because this way you're not actually spending money on advertising, you're just organically getting traffic because people are typing in what it is they want, your business pops up, and there you go. There's people who are coming to your website, people who are finding out about you that way. So search engine optimization is so important. It's a big one. That's a big one for sure. The next one is pay-per-click advertising. So basically that's whenever we have paid ads that are typically like pay-per-click. So basically you pay depending on how many people actually end up clicking on the ad. And so this can be really good if you already know that you have a good conversion rate. Like if you know, for example, that 5% of everyone who clicks is going to make a purchase, then that can be a great thing to use pay-per-click advertising when you already have a decent conversion rate and you know that you're going to be able to earn more money by paying for the advertising. You're going to earn more money by paying for it and getting more conversions basically. And this can especially be really great if you're selling digital products because you don't actually have to do anything after you make sales really. And so that's a fantastic one, especially for digital products in particular. Next one is social media marketing. So basically using platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, whatever other things are there in order to build brand awareness, build trust with your audience, all of that good stuff. The next one is email marketing. So essentially this is where you will collect an email list and basically have like a newsletter that goes out every couple weeks that talks about what you're up to and what your offers are and all of that kind of stuff and what kind of value you can provide to the customers basically. One important note about email marketing is in a lot of places you're not actually supposed to just randomly advertise to any emails that you can find somewhere on some email list that you pay for or that you get for free, whatever the case is. Typically, it is a requirement, and at the very least, it's a good practice to only email people who have actively signed up to be on the list, who have said, yes, I would like to receive emails, and also to make it a very easy process to unsubscribe from your emails so that if people no longer want to receive email from you, they can decide to opt out. And yes, this does make it harder, sure, absolutely, but this way the people who you're emailing are people who actually care, right? Who actually want to be receiving these emails and care about what it is that your offers are rather than just a bunch of random people who may not care anyway. And then the next one is content marketing. So essentially this is creating valuable content like maybe blog posts, videos, maybe some freebies, like especially if you're someone who sells digital products, having some freebies there so that people can get a sample can be really great. And this is going to continue to feed your SEO, your social media, email all at once, and also just help build your authority, right? Have people getting to know who you are. And so that can be a great one too. Now, there's also various performance metrics. So what is your click-through rate? So click-through rate is essentially the percentage of people who will see it, right? Like basically seeing it means there's like an impression. So it came up as something that they could click on either their YouTube channel or when they type something into Google and it came up as one of the search results, right? So that's an impression. And then click-through rate is how many people actually saw that and decided to click on it. So for example, let's say that 1,000 people saw your ad, 25 of those people clicked on your ad. That would mean you have a 2.5% conversion rate. Or sorry, not conversion rate, that's the next one, click-through rate, my apologies. Okay, next one is conversion rate. So conversion rate just means that is the percentage of people who did already click, so we know they did click, who actually did what you were hoping for. So the number of people who out of the people who clicked on it, what percentage of people actually bought the product. So for example, let's say that 100 visitors actually clicked on a product, for example, and then 4 of those people actually went ahead, put it in their cart, checked out, actually bought the product in full. That tells us that that product for that day had a 4% conversion rate. Now, in order for conversion rate to really be useful, I will say it is very important that we go off of more than just 100 views or like 100 click-throughs, and also that we go through more than just one day. But that's just to give an example. It is best to do to look at actual long-term what's happening as opposed to just judge a product based on what happens on one day, right? Because that could be an off day. Maybe that 4% is more than usual, or maybe that 4% is less than usual. We don't know. And so making sure that we're looking at what's happening long-term, not what just happened on one day, is important. That was just an example. The next one is cost per acquisition. So that basically means how much does it cost in ad spend to get one conversion or one customer, right? So essentially that's going to be our ad spend divided by our conversions, right? So for example, let's say that you spend $80 and you get 4 purchases. For instance, that means that it costs you essentially $20 per purchase. Now, if you're selling some high ticket thing that cost way more than that, maybe that's worth it to you. Maybe it's worth it for you to spend $20 to get that purchase. Or maybe you're advertising a rental unit that someone's going to live in for an entire year or more, and you decide to spend $30 to put the listing up, right? Once again, maybe that $30 is worth it to you, right? Maybe it's worth it to you to spend that money in order to get to get a new tenant, right? So that's just it. So not saying it's not worth spending that money, but depending on what you're selling, how much you're making from that, it is important to take into account the cost per acquisition, right? How much are you actually spending in order to get a new client? Things like that. The next one is return on your ad spend. So basically, how many dollars of revenue do you earn for every $1 that you spend on ads, right? So for example, let's say you spend $100 and you earn $300 in sales, then that means you're earning 3 times what you're spending. Now, keep in mind that this tells you the raw revenue efficiency of your ads, not the profit, right? Because one could also argue, well, if I spend $100 and I make $300, technically I only made $200 in profit, right? Only $200 of that was profit then because I spent $100 to get the $300. So really, I netted $200 in that case. Now, there are other metrics too, like how much is your average order, right? Does the average person who buys from you spend $50, $100, $10? How much do they spend on average? That matters as well. Or is it something where they sign up and do something long-term, right? Like maybe the average person that you acquire is going to sign up for weekly tutoring sessions for an entire school year. And if that's the case, then that could be worth a lot more to you than someone who's only going to spend $10 one time, right? And so it really depends. Are you someone who has a very large customer base, but every customer only ends up spending a small amount of money? Or maybe you have a smaller customer base. Maybe you only work with like 10 people, for example, but those 10 people you have a meeting with once or twice a week in order to help them achieve their goals, whatever those goals are. I'm going to stick to academic goals here since I'm talking about this from the perspective of tutoring, but this could really be anything. This could really be any service. Right? But it also just depends. What services are you providing? Is it something like cleaning houses or tutoring or something like that people are typically going to want on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, or maybe multiple times a week in some cases? Or is it the case where people are just going to call you when they need you? Are they typically only going to call, once or twice a year? Because in that case, of course, you're going to need more acquisition. You're going to need more people if every customer that you have only actually needs you to come and do the service once in a while. All right, now the key marketing equation I want to talk about is this one here, that ROAS, return on ad spend, is equal to revenue from ad campaign over the cost of the ad campaign. So that's kind of where we've gotten to our example before of, okay, we spent let's say the revenue was $300, we spent $100, And so we made 3 times as much. Now, keeping in mind that is not all profit, right? We still spent $100, but overall we did earn more. And the thing is, if this number is less than 1, that means that we spent more on the campaign than the cost of the campaign, which is obviously not where we want to be. All right, so let's talk about the SEO analysis. So let's think about this scenario. Let's say that a website gets 10,000 monthly visitors and the current conversion rate is 2%. Reminder, what does that mean? That means that 2% of these 10,000 customers on average are going to actually buy something. They're actually going to buy whatever the product is. The average order value is $50 and the potential SEO improvement would be plus 30% traffic. So instead of the website getting 10,000, it's going to get 30% more. So it's going to now get an extra 3,000 people for a total of 13,000 monthly visitors. So here it's asking us to calculate the potential monthly revenue increase, right? And so is doing this SEO improvement going to make a difference? Well, obviously it is, but how much of a difference is it actually going to make? Let's see. Well, the current revenue is, and this is approximate, right? Of course, actual results are going to vary, but this is our expected based on the data that we do have, and so that's what we're going to use. Basically, we know there's 10,000 monthly visitors approximately. We know that the conversion rate is about 2%, so we're expecting 2% of those 10,000 customers to actually buy something. And then the average order value is 50. So some orders will be more, some orders will be less, but on average, we expect it to be around 50. And so therefore, currently, the expected amount of revenue we're going to make each month is going to be about $10,000. Now, for the new traffic, we know that it's going to be 13,000, right? The new traffic is going to be 13,000 because we're taking 10,000, we're multiplying by 1.3 because there's 30% new traffic. So to be very clear, of this 13,000, 10,000 is still the same regular 10,000 monthly visitors that we're expecting. And then the extra 3,000 is because of that new traffic, right? Because our SEO improvement that we're going to make is going to increase traffic by 30% is the estimate. So what is the new revenue? So the new revenue would be, now there's 13,000 customers. We're still expecting 2% of those customers to convert. So basically 2% of those customers, we're expecting them to buy something. And then it's $50 on average per order. So that's a total of $13,000. And so the increase is $3,000 monthly. And so essentially what we're saying is if we make these potential SEO improvements, if we decide to take the time and actually do that, well, that's going to be an extra approximately $3,000 monthly. Now, again, will actual results vary? Absolutely. But even if, let's say, some months it's only $2,000 monthly and some months it's more, maybe some months it's $4,000 monthly, that seems well worth it. Like it seems well worth it, especially when you already have the product, you already have a lot of the work done. That seems very well worth it to me to improve the SEO in order to make an extra $3,000 every month. That seems like that's a very good use of our time, to be honest. Next, let's talk about a PPC campaign. PPC being pay per click is what that stands for. So let's say that there's an ad budget of $5,000 a month, and our average CPC is $2.50. The conversion rate is 5%, and the profit per conversion is $100. Here they want us to calculate the ROAS, which ROAS is the return on ad spend and also the total profit, right? Because a reminder that the return on ad spend isn't just profit, that is also somewhat of us just getting our money back from what we spent on the ads in the first place, right? So that's not all profit. That's why we have to calculate the profit separately. All right, so in this case, we have $5,000 per month as our budget. And then if we divide by 250, we get 2,000 clicks, right? Because if we're going to get $2.50, our average CPC, that's going to end up with 2,000 clicks. Okay, so 2,000 clicks. The conversion rate is 5%, meaning 5% of the people approximately are going to actually buy whatever it is. And so therefore 2,000 times 5% is 100. So that means we're making 100 sales per month. Now the profit per conversion is 100. So if we multiply the 100 conversions we get, 100 people that are buying, times the $100 of profit per person, that is $10,000. Then if we divide that $10,000 by $5,000, we get 2, right? Which tells us basically that that whatever we spend on the ad budget, the $5,000 a month we're spending on ads, we're going to get double that back, right? Now, in terms of total profit, though, the overall revenue we made was $10,000, but keeping in mind we spent $5,000 on the ad budget. And so we actually really only made $5,000. The total profit is only the $5,000 here, not the full $10,000, because the first $5,000 of this $10,000 is just us getting the ad money back. Basically, it's basically just us getting the money back, and then the extra $5,000 on top of that, that is our profit. Right now, this is an oversimplified scenario. Maybe this is not the only cost of doing whatever this is, but this is just a simple example to illustrate the point here and to encourage you to calculate the ROAS and your total profit. All right, so what are the key takeaways from today? Well, core formulas is that our CTR, which is click-through rate, is going to be clicks over impressions, right? So of all the people who see your ad, what proportion of people actually go ahead and click on it? Then we have CVR, which is conversion rate. That's going to be conversions over clicks. So of the people who actually clicked on it, how many people then decided to put it in their cart and actually buy it, actually check out, right? That's going to be your conversion rate. And then CPA is going to be the campaign cost over your conversions. And so best practices are to always track performance, right? Because for example, if certain advertising methods are not working well, it's important to realize that and to be able to adjust things if they're not working. And if we track the performance, we can know if things are going well or if they are not. Also, it also mentions testing and optimizing continuously across channels. That's also really important, right? If we aren't continually testing and optimizing and following best practices, then we could be losing out on potential clients, we could be losing out on potential money, all of that. And then it also talks about focusing on customer journey, because at the end of the day, our goal here is, when running a business, is typically not going to be to just make a quick buck and then just run away with that quick buck. The goal is to get repeat customers, right? The goal is to get people buying something and then maybe later they really like it and they buy something again. That's what we really want. Also, our goal is to reach new customers, especially when it comes to like selling digital products, for example, when the amount of those you can sell is infinite. It's the amount you can sell, sky's the limit on that, right? It's not a service-based business where you still want clients and referrals, but there's only so much time you have in the day to actually go and serve the community, right? And so focusing on the customer journey is important here, because if you are providing a good quality service, then you do get some marketing from that too. You get people recommending you to their friends, to their family. You get people who are repeat customers who buy and then buy again. And in fact, when selling digital products myself, that's actually been my biggest indicator that I'm doing something right. When I see that someone spends $50 on a digital product for me, and then 2 weeks later they spend another $50 on another one of my digital products, then that's great. Or if I see, okay, someone bought unit 1 of AP Calculus AB, for example, and then a few weeks later they buy the full course, it's like, okay, great. That must mean that they really liked and got a lot of value from unit 1 of that course if they decided to drop over $100 on the entire rest of that course, right? People are not just going to spend money when they don't see the value. So focusing on making sure that the customers overall are happy is going to be key here. And let's leave you with this. There is a quote that says, digital marketing is about the right message to the right person at the right time. And that's very key, right? That's very key. If we're just marketing randomly, we're not going to do as well as if we do targeted marketing, right? If you're selling candles to somebody who doesn't like candles and, finds them repelling, then even if your candles are great, they're not going to buy them, right? Or if you're advertising your tutoring services to an elderly couple whose kids are already grown up, that probably is not the right target market, right? We're looking for parents of actual school-age students who are concerned about their student and want them to have more success. Or maybe in some cases they're not necessarily concerned, but they just want their child to go from a 90 to a 95 so they can go to Harvard or Stanford or wherever it is people are going nowadays, right? So that's just it. When the right person sees the right message at the right time, that's when people buy. And that's ultimately what we want. We want to use digital platforms. We want to use social media or email or whatever channel we might have in order to market what we have to the right people, to the people who are actually going to care and who are actually going to get value from whatever it is that we're offering. Because that's how we get repeat buyers. That's how we get a successful business, basically. All right, well, that is going to be all for this one, and I will see you for the next one.